Good morning. Welcome to our seminar today. This is jointly done by Apprion and the ISA 100 Wireless Compliance Institute. The title is An Open Intelligent Application Platform Approach to Your IIoT Strategy. I'm Andre Restaino, and I'll introduce the presenters. We have some great presenters today. We have Chris Witt, who's the Senior Vice President at the Freeport site of the BASF Corporation. It's one of the largest North American manufacturing locations. Chris oversees the daily operation of 24 plants that manufacture 23 different products, including acrylic acid used in textiles, adhesives and plastics, superabsorbent polymers, or SAP, used in baby diapers, and a number of other products. Our other speaker is James Scoruppa. He's a site automation strategy leader for BASF Corporation. He's located at the Freeport, Texas site, and he has responsibility for developing and implementing the site automation strategy. He's also responsible for overseeing all 24 plants and ensuring that they're harmonious in their automation strategy. Also, Sarah Prinster, Vice President of Marketing for Apprion. So just a little bit about the ISA 100 Wireless Compliance Institute, and we'll get started. One thing I'll mention is that everybody will be muted during the presentation since there are a lot of participants, and we're going to allow time at the end for question and answer. So please type in any questions that you have in the Q&A tab on the right-hand top side of your control bar. So the Wireless Compliance, ISA 100 Wireless Compliance Institute mission is basically two things. So we manage the certification program to assure interoperability of products that operate in ISA 100 wireless mesh networks. And there are a lot of other subtasks that come under that. And we promote the ISA 100 wireless standard. For instance, we had a technology display at the ACMA event in Frankfurt in June. And we show the capabilities of the technology, and we demonstrated 3 live networks with 36 devices from 17 vendors. We also showcased the expanding technical and infrastructure ecosystem that's growing for ISA 100 wireless. I won't spend a lot of time on that, but I would encourage participants to visit the ISA 100 Wireless Compliance Institute website for more information. So the organization is comprised of its members and has a governing board. The governing board sets the strategy and direction for the institute, for instance, new technology development, that sort of thing. And it's responsible for ensuring the outcome of the annual financial and operational plans. So today there's a large number of devices that are deployed in the market. They're in various application areas such as chemicals, life sciences, mining, oil and gas, refining, pulp and paper. So the uptake has been pretty positive, and we're seeing the growth starting to accelerate as more experience is gained with the technology and with wireless in general, and suppliers and end users are learning where the best areas are for the application of wireless technology. So at this point, I'd like to turn the presentation over to today's great presenters on IIoT. Thank you.
Thanks, Andre. I'm going to load up my side and take over presenting here. I want to start with an overview of the Industrial Internet of Things. It's a mouthful, so when I sometimes say that, I might also refer to it as the IIoT. A lot of people are very familiar with this concept. It has evolved slowly over the past decade. So I just wanted to give a brief overview so we're all on the same page, because everything we're going to talk about today is the IIoT approach to implementing applications and networks at your facilities. So the Internet of Things, and specifically the Industrial Internet of Things, is connecting devices, machines, computers, and people. And we're going to evaluate and talk about what's important about connecting all these different facets. Advanced data analytics is very important to the Industrial Internet of Things because it's bringing back big data from many, many devices and using that data to transform your business outcomes and make critical business decisions at your facilities. We're going to be focusing specifically on a chemical facility case studies today, but this plays in a lot of areas of manufacturing, mining, utilities, and the whole energy sector and beyond. So it's the convergence of all these global ecosystems of data and devices, including advanced computing for manufacturing. And pervasive sensing is a very hot topic in this concept as well. There's so many, many devices out there that need to be connected, and various protocols and vendors, and using all that data together, we need to bring it back into a single one platform. And this involves universal network connectivity, and we're going to drill into that. So that's the very highest level, and a lot of people are familiar with this. Like I said, this has become a very, very hot, cool topic recently. There's a lot of research reports out there. But on the highest level, this is the definition of the Industrial Internet of Things. And why is it so important? Well, as I said, there's so many devices, so much data out there, and there's so much information we can bring back and utilize that we need to connect all those devices and utilize them for predictive analytics. And there's many applications that can do this, and new IIoT technologies. We're going to talk about how Apprion addresses connecting all these applications, and then I'm going to hand it over to BSF to show how they have connected both their network, their devices, and their applications to come to a true IIoT approach in their processing. Plant safety and security and resilience is very important for IIoT. We need to bring back the data safely, securely, and get it all back. So all devices must be up and running at all times. And we achieve this by creating that open network. And IIoT is an open network. Again, many, many different applications from different vendors, bringing back different types of data. There's stranded data out there. We need to bring it all into one location so it can merge and integrate to make that key daily decision-making at your facilities. So those are the key aspects of the IIoT. So how is Apprion addressing the IIoT? Well, in the words of Barbara Mandrell, we were IIoT when IIoT wasn't cool. As we said, this has been a concept that's evolving over the past decade, but Apprion from the very beginning addressed an open network. That was our approach. One network that's open to all vendors, all protocol, all devices, to bring it back into one platform. And our solution offering addresses this, integrated, industrial, and interconnected. We designed all of our applications to be industrial and to be open. And our focus is on predictive analytics because there is so much data out there that we need to bring back, and predictive monitoring and connecting all these devices into one platform so you can make your decisions at your facilities. So yeah, we were cool before IIoT was even the buzzword that it has become. This is our view and our value proposition for our Industrial Internet of Things approach. We have multiple applications. We're going to share some of those with you today. There's so many that are out there that I'm not going to go into all of them, but you will get to hear about what BSF has done with some of our applications. They span from communications, video for perimeter security, location, which involves RTLS as well as mustering, mobility, and monitoring. That's monitoring all those devices from all vendors that are out there in the network. Everything is industrial grade. This is from not only being rugged and safe and meeting the compliance mandates for an industrial grade device, but also our applications are designed to address industrial processes. What's super key and what we're going to keep hitting on is that we're open. We've always been open. That's how we designed all of our solutions, all of our products. For all vendors, both wireless and wired, which is key because there's a lot of wired data still out there at these facilities that needs to come back. And finally, our managed services. So what's really important with an Industrial Internet of Things is that all the devices are always up and running. All the applications are always up and running and talking to each other. So if these are not being monitored and managed consistently and in the right way, then you're not bringing back the true data that you need for your industrial Internet of Things and to make them all come back into one integrated platform. So we have a managed service offering that does exactly this. And this is a snapshot of how we do this. So most important at the top is our integrated platform. This is where we bring back all the data and all of our applications into one snapshot. We have multiple applications, which I said we'll drill into. And we do have a hardware piece, both our own access points as well as working with third-party vendors, which is very, very key because there are so many different types of devices out there, and then managed service. So in the true industrial Internet of Things, this is what you're connecting: software, hardware, services, all in one solution. This gives you an idea of how we do that into our software platform, our enterprise platform, which integrates all of our applications. This is where we monitor and manage all the devices. This is where you can see wireless video applications, you can see mustering applications, and you can design this platform to what you need for your industrial Internet. It's very easy to configure this and install, and most importantly, it's resilient. This gives you a snapshot of the architecture of the industrial Internet of Things, truly, from all the wired data into the various types of wireless data such as ISA 100, Wi-Fi, RFID, the vendors that are involved, and just a snapshot of the applications from all the monitoring of your tanks, your sensors, to address that pervasive sensing, and process and operational applications such as turnaround, mobility, video. All of this lays into this environment from all the different levels. So this is a true industrial Internet of Things approach by bringing in all these different pieces into one platform. So what's important is that ISA 100 supports the industrial Internet of Things. And how do they do this? Well, they have their network protocol standard, IPv6, which has infinite addressing. They have a multi-protocol support. All of their architecture has strong security. And most importantly, they connect multiple devices from various vendors in this integrated IIoT system. So they address all these key pieces that make up the industrial Internet of Things. And Apprion works with ISA 100. In fact, we address this at various chemical facilities and refineries, and we have continued to work with these devices to improve visibility and actual performance of production assets. We do this by pulling all the data back into our platform, and we work with that data and visualize it in meaningful ways so you can make your decisions on all processes. We integrate multiple devices from ISA 100 and Apprion into these networks, and we bring back disparate pieces of information from various siloed plant systems. And this is key because you do not want to have your data off in siloed areas, because then you're running different systems, you're visualizing it in various platforms across the infrastructure. Whereas when you integrate everything truly, you can bring back all your siloed data from various applications into one location, and that's going to be most efficient. And of course, the industrial Internet of Things is important to all industrial facilities, and particularly for BSF, because they've taken an IIoT approach to how they've implemented not only their infrastructure, but also their applications. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Chris Whitty of BASF Freeport and have him share what they have done with their IIoT approach.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. One thing I want to start off just from the beginning is why would we get on and share this with everybody out there? And the key reason is that safety is critical to BASF, and we believe that the wireless infrastructure that we're installing can make our plant and also make those that are in our industries and neighboring industries more safe. So that's the purpose of us being on today. Is we're primarily sharing our safety success, and we want to spread the word. It's also not just a safety program for us, but we will also want to combine it with all sorts of other applications as well. And the way we went about this is to get our foot in the door first on a safety and security standpoint, and then to make sure that we have an open platform that we can have applications and devices that are critical to our other downstream strategies, whether it's asset effectiveness and reliability, maintenance, big data from a video and security standpoint, procedures that we will be streaming to operator handheld devices, and predictive analytics so that we can make sure that we can see what's going on wrong with our bad actors out in the unit. So this all started off with really from a security standpoint and a safety standpoint. So we had some safety challenges that are not unlike others. Whenever we ran our drills or we had actual events, as an incident commander, one of the first things that we're tasked with is making sure that the people are safe and that we know where they are. And so traditionally we had some very antiquated systems on how we would keep track of folks, whiteboards or some way of accountability. And so the data would flow in slowly to us at the Emergency Operations Center, and we really wanted to make sure that we upgraded our systems. So we focused on the safety improvements, and one thing that helps with is from a justification standpoint. Just for those of us that were around when PCs first came on our desks a few decades back, I can remember trying to justify PCs on folks' desks, and it was a difficult thing. And wireless over an industrial site is the same way. It's difficult to quantify exactly what the savings are. And so from a safety security standpoint, we led with those projects first because they didn't need the economic justification. And we could put it in a phased approach where we could have it in various parts of the plant, the perimeter at certain mustering stations, and then we could come in and fill in the rest of the wireless holes as we went forward. But we really thought out of the box for this wireless automated mustering system, and so that we have a number of mustering platforms, and I'll get into that a little bit later in the presentation. Its design is an open and a phased approach, as I said. So we started off at the perimeter of the site with video, and then moved inward with mustering, and now we're filling it in from a reliability standpoint. We partnered with Apprion. We went through our traditional purchasing approach, but we wanted to make sure that we had a partner that was open to various architectures so that we weren't linked to any particular way forward. So as far as the Field of Dreams go, if you build it, they will come. What we had happening, we have multiple businesses at this site. So we have 5 different business groups and 25 different units. And each was well-intentioned in getting their own systems going forward. But what we really wanted to do was an approach that was across the whole site and harmonized. So there were many applications that everybody wanted, and what we wanted to do was make sure that we had in our industrial Internet of Things approach, and we didn't call it that back then. We just knew that we wanted to have all of the potential applications coming in under one system that was harmonized across the site, and really now harmonized across North America at all of our sites. We have a standard that we're going with for the same reasons that we chose Apprion in Port Arthur at our Port Arthur location, and as well as here in Freeport. So what we really started with was ion mobility for turnarounds. And again, similar to safety and security for a turnaround, especially at our crackers, our large commodities plants out in Port Arthur, we were able to put in mobility for the turnarounds and track jobs in real time out in the field rather than some of the dated methods that we had prior to that. We then moved it into cameras for perimeter security. From that standpoint, it was less expensive than wired videos, and we found that the system was robust and secure. And then finally moved it into ion mustering, and this was our phased approach with mustering and Wi-Fi badge check-in that could then be put against our gate logs for an exception report on who is missing and where they are. So the first application was for turnarounds, and I'm going to turn it over to James. He was instrumental in putting that in our Port Arthur facility.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I think these next 2 slides. I got the next 2 slides here, and I think it might be better to maybe hear the story of how we got started with this wireless infrastructure approach. I was in Port Arthur. That's where I came from before I was at Freeport. And in Port Arthur, in about 2011, I had caught wind of about 4 different projects going on. One was the turnaround. Turnaround wanted a better solution the turnaround group wanted a better solution to have real-time information on project statuses in the field during the turnaround. And they're looking at implementing a Motorola handheld unit to coordinate with their Primavera database from the field so they can kick off permits much quicker than the standard paper approach where you have to walk out in the field, check, get all the information, carry the permit back into the central permit room before you kick off the next one. So this helped speed up our process quite a bit. The other projects were the project group had a laydown yard that they wanted to put a camera out that was pretty far reach, so they wanted to use a wireless camera. Operations already had operator mobility for operator rounds. That was already in a pilot phase at this time, but it was all using docking stations. They didn't have it connected to any kind of Wi-Fi, so they wanted some kind of wireless infrastructure so they can be able to talk to the field. And then maintenance. Maintenance had some vibration on some big old fans on our heaters that they wanted to monitor for temporary type setups, and they wanted to put a little wireless infrastructure. It was kind of hard to get to. It was about 200 feet up in the air, and so they want to run all this wire and everything for just this temporary setup. So anyway, I caught wind of all that stuff, and I kind of pulled everybody together, said to the site manager and the site leadership team, that said, why don't we just combine all these together and make one infrastructure, not just to support this turnaround, but to support the plant ongoing in the future. And that's how we kicked off and partnered with Apprion at that time in Port Arthur, was building that infrastructure with the turnaround in mind, because turnaround was going to be the first user. And so once turnaround left, we still had the infrastructure in place, but now they have the ability for to expand their operator mobility and whatever other usages they want to use it out there. The next project was the Freeport Project. Freeport was actually ahead of us in Port Arthur as far as doing a wireless study. They had a lot of good ideas already and wanting to implement this ideal wireless umbrella for this entire site for all the things that Chris had mentioned before. But they didn't have a justification at the time. They couldn't say, hey, this is how we're going to pay for it. And then they had an opportunity come up where we have this is a 500-acre site in Freeport, very large perimeter with a twig fence all the way around. And part of the Coast Guard requirements is that we need to do perimeter detection. You know, we needed cameras everywhere, or we had to have a view of the fences throughout the site. And we're 500 acres. That's a lot of wire, a lot of backhauling to do on if we want to get cameras throughout the entire site. So that kind of introduced us to this wireless infrastructure. What it allowed us to do is build a entire ring around the plant to support this camera usage. But what it's doing also is creating that as Chris likes to say, this donut approach. He built this donut around this plant where we have wireless throughout all the way around the plant. And as projects come online in the future, as we are currently doing now with the mustering and mobility and everything else, we're starting to build that infrastructure inward using that same infrastructure.
So this is Chris. Safety is our #1 priority, as I'm sure it's in everybody's industry. What we wanted to do is mainly reduce the impact of hazardous incidents through accurate and real-time data. So it means during those incidents, during those high-risk times, we want to monitor the work and the asset health, the location, and condition. Obviously avoid any costs from unexpected events, trying to shorten those events. So we leveraged the same infrastructure that we had for the critical plant monitoring over this system as well. So again, bringing in video, bringing in mustering, we can bring all of those things together under one system in order to keep track of what's going on during incidents, and then could expand that and roll that out further across the site as we wanted to move into big data and predictive reliability. So let's talk about the first one. The third application here is ion mustering. And so for this, from the standpoint of security and safety, the very first question we asked ourselves during emergency operations is, are people safe? And so by having the mustering system and in real time, we could have these mustering locations and keep track of folks when they arrived at the shelter-in-place or at the mustering location, and do an exception report against our gate system. And then the next question is okay, who's not there? And then the obvious next question of that is, where are they, or where were they last? And so with these real-time systems during these high-risk events, we could turn those systems on and track down and see where folks are at. So it greatly improves our safety emergency response handling when we have incidents. The ION mustering application is, again, first need is to locate your people. Are they safe? And that's our, in all of the drills that we run, in all of the incidents that we do have, that is the issue that we had pop up when we would evaluate how we would do in those drill scenarios, and we took a look back, is, we could always improve both the accuracy and the timely response in tracking of folks. And so that's what we went forward with. As James said, we already had a ring around the 550 acres that we have here, and now we could start to fill in that ring from a safety perspective with wireless mustering. And so we eventually started to fill in the locations that we needed and to get the coverage that we needed. And from there, we could move on. So if you go to the next slide. So how this works then is we have a mustering zone. We can see in real time who showed up, who's scanned in, who's at that location. And then we can do an exception report against our gate log and see where they're at. We can see timestamps. We can move our wireless video cameras around to look at those mustering locations. We can give them information whether or not they should stay there, or further information on where they should go to. And we can monitor in real time what's happening out in the field, all from one location, all over one open platform. Next slide. So again, we could drive down. We could say, okay, the obvious next question is where were they last? We're not looking for within a few meter spot, but what basic unit or what area they were in. So if there are first responders that we need to send out to try and locate these folks, we're not sending them out blind. We know where they were last, and now we can also shorten the time it takes for us to get to them and provide any assistance that they might need. So the results to date, we feel we've improved our safety and our security. We're working on our operational efficiency. We're using it for big data and predictive analytics. And we've got the bulk of the infrastructure already installed because we are able to get it justified under a safety and security standpoint. Now we can move to focusing on maintenance cost, asset reliability, equipment effectiveness. Turnaround execution, James already talked about. So getting real-time data out in the field on the status of jobs, how they're moving along. What % complete they are. We can monitor the critical path of our turnarounds and make any adjustments that we need to do. And the technology investment was less than 1% of the turnaround investment, with significant savings. So these large commodity scale turnarounds, it doesn't take much improvement to justify the investment that we made. So we're going to continue to extend the wireless at BASF. We've written this into our standards, so all of our sites across North America will be using the same Apprion open platform. In addition, any new plants that are going to be built have this standard already. So new investments are coming. We're seeing this as part of the infrastructure, just like pipe racks and utility pipes and laptops and control systems. Wireless is going to become part of our greenfield or brownfield additions as well. Big data, reliability, and predictive analytics is one place that we're going. Operator mobility. So James touched on that. We're using them for rounds already, but we want to really start hooking it into our SAP system, make sure that we have maintenance, real-time tracking of jobs. We also want to use it for job procedures. So video procedures out in the field where operators can access them in real time when they're doing a job. We have, from a demographic standpoint, we have quite a bit of turnover expected in our operator ranks over the next 5 years. And so two things. This way it will be a way for us to do some knowledge transfer from the existing technicians. And we feel that the new technician that's coming in, and I call them, like my kids, kind of the Xbox generation, they're going to take to these systems like a duck to water. So we really want to put this infrastructure in place and have it in place as we turn the workforce over the next 5 years. One other big item that we're looking at is from a construction standpoint, monitoring the status of the construction jobs, punch lists out in the field, and using those applications from a CapEx standpoint. So, what's our advice from an industrial Internet of Things strategy? Evaluate your key goals, get alignment along those key goals. Look at the available application options and make sure that you have an open system. We lead with the human issues, the safety and security. It's very difficult to start off with economic justifications on these platforms, but if you start with the safety and security, then you can work your way into the economics, and then the results will start to speak for themselves. You should work with an experienced IoT vendor. It should be an open platform. And again, we started small and build with an incremental approach, and don't allow the siloed systems to spring up in the various areas that you have, whether it's on the same site or across your sites. We want consistency throughout our organization. So with that, I guess we'll open the floor up for questions.
I'll hand it back to you, Michael and Andre.
Great. Thank you very much. It's a great webinar, and so I urge the listeners to type in your questions. We have plenty of time for the Q&A. Everybody stuck to their budget. And first of all, before we start the Q&A, I want to thank our presenters. I know that when you're a team of an operational environment, it's a big commitment to take time out to participate in a presentation like this. So thank you again. So I guess the first question would be, what's your biggest surprise, positive or negative, in the process?
So I guess my biggest surprise, this is Chris, from a positive standpoint, is how well the folks have taken to it. We really have had the folks out in the unit jump on the opportunities to have this platform across the site. And really, what we're doing right now is trying to regulate and get in line and make sure that we prioritize the order that we go in, because there's a significant number of ideas out there. And so everybody wants to jump in and use this system. And for us, from a positive standpoint, that's great. From a negative standpoint, it's really making sure that we prioritize our goals and what we're going to go after first. James, anything to add?
No.
Great. So that kind of partially answered a question that came up about the cultural dimensions of implementing new technology. Did that feel like it was a smooth transition, or was there a big sell? Or maybe you can comment about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I think in every population there's the early adopters and the folks that are like the gadgets and the what goes along with that. So I think the first thing to do is identify those folks in your organization who have that desire to kind of get out there on the leading edge and bring these tools in. Obviously, from a personnel accountability, there were some hurdles that we had to get over there, both internally with our HR department and at the site. Folks, being monitored is a concept that not everybody was comfortable with. So there we had to make sure that we really had the policy out there and well published and talk about when it's going to be used. And again, for us, we consider it as PPE now, right? That that's the only time that's going to be utilized is during an incident. We're not going to be tracking people the rest of the time.
And I'll add to that a little bit for our lessons learned. In the Port Arthur plant, we started doing operator mobility, and we had this great solution, and we gave it to the operators. And you know what? They fought back. And I don't want to use this. It's change. I don't want to change. What we have is fine. It's working now. And we had a lot of good reasons why we needed to go to mobility at the Port Arthur site. So I had a lot of fighting, not fighting, but a lot of persuasion going on. And anyway, I did it the wrong way. It's a lessons learned. What I didn't do is I didn't include the end users at the brainstorming part of it. And as Chris was saying a while ago, we built this infrastructure and we started doing a couple small things at Freeport, and now I had three different blocks, 3 different plants come up to me and say, hey, we want to be the first to do operator mobility. We want to be the first. I mean, they're actually persuading me to, because they want to be the first. They want to be the ones helping design this thing. And when you include them and get the end users into the brainstorming and make them feel out like they have some ownership in it, the projects are just a lot more successful and much easier to implement.
Great. That's a familiar ring. I've heard that one before. So there's a question about continuing to execute on your vision, what you're looking forward to, and one of the attendees was asking if you've got plans and for integrating process data with the infrastructure for mobility and mustering. Is there some type of a strategy for that? What would that look like?
So, I'm not sure I understand the question. So, integrating process data with mustering. So, we certainly
actually
are talking about
integrating it with in the infrastructure.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess.
So, yeah, process data itself. You know, that's a big hurdle. Obviously, you know, I think it's going to take a little bit of time to get everybody comfortable to utilizing control data over a wireless platform to control the plants. That we're probably some time away from implementing. But what we are talking about is for those monitoring systems that are not very dynamic, aren't tied to safety systems. Those we are considering bringing into the system. And there's some security issues around that James can probably refer to as far as keeping it, you know, the information separate from our control systems.
Right. Yeah. So we have kind of 2 approaches on our wireless stuff. If it's for plant level type information, we really kind of separate that outside of our wireless infrastructure and make them more plant independent, so that data only goes to that plant. Again, it's for information only, not controls. But if it's more for finance people or process engineers that need maybe a custody transfer meter is a good example. We got one across the fence where we need that data. No one in the plant needs that data, but our finance people do, so they know how much we're metering on one of our lines. Those are kind of applications where we bring into our overall infrastructure because they're already there. We already got a wireless connection there. It's easy to tap into. But I'm looking at this question another way too: is how do we get the process data to the people in the field? That is something we are looking into, whether it's at plant, plant data, or if it's a level higher, like our off-platform historical data, where we can get that data back to them in the field so they can see much more, or at least maybe not real time, but maybe a slight delay time of process data. That's something we haven't done yet. It is something that we are definitely looking into, though.
So there's another question about wireless devices becoming rated for process safety. Actually, I can answer that. There's 2 ISA 100 wireless devices that are actually still rated. One is the gas secure device, and another is a radar level from Honeywell. And so it just depends on the timings and the criticality of the feedback. But there are a couple of still rated wireless devices today. And there was a question about network prioritization and bandwidth control. That's probably a little more on the technical side, but I guess the question is about how you might tune these systems and provide priorities for the different applications, if that's something that's done.
Yes, I mean we we have our wireless infrastructure is managed by our control system department. So they are responsible for any new applications being put on there. So they are responsible, you know, if we're worried about any kind of data on pushing too much data through the system or something, you know, they'll look at it. But then of course Apprion will come, you know, before they ever put anything on, any new applications on our system. They always take on that responsibility to make sure that the system can handle it. If it can't, then you know, we haven't ran into we got all these videos on there. We haven't ran into any bandwidth issues yet, because you know that's obviously the biggest bandwidth users is those cameras. So, but yeah, we do have a team here on site, and then we work with Apprion's field service engineers as well.
Okay. Yeah, there are a couple people asked questions if this WebEx would be recorded and available, and the answer is yes. We try to post up the recorded version of the webinar onto the ISA 100 wireless site, so it should be up there in a couple days. There is a question. It sounds like a policy question about are there policies or controls on what some people may call inappropriate devices like smartphones, et cetera, joining your Wi-Fi network?
Yeah, we have. It's not an open network. It's a what you call a hidden SSID network. So you can't just see it and just connect to it. You actually have to have a certificate developed and placed on that device to be able to even see the network. So that's the main way we control it. So it's all and that again is through what we have a server online on that network that administrates all the user accounts.
Yeah, thank you. So there's probably a couple questions, I would say at least three, about cybersecurity. And you spoke about it a little bit. Maybe you can talk just a little bit more if you have any concerns with cybersecurity when implementing and expanding the systems, and any thoughts on how you might address that. Yeah,
so Port Arthur was our first install base of a industrial wireless network, full-blown one. When I say industrial wireless network, so it's not part of our business network. It's totally segregated. It's not part of our process control network. We call it a level 3 network. So something that sits between the business and our process control network with firewalls in between them, so you don't have any single path to that network. So when we did the Port Arthur one, we dispatched our North America, we call them Global Expert Team for Automation Security. So they're our regional support for any industrial security, and they came in and they challenged Apprion. They tried to hack into their systems. They did everything they could to test it, test the vulnerability of it, and so that's how we worked out that first one, is by bringing in our automation team, segregating the network, and then testing it all.
Yeah, so without specifically naming any supplier partners, one of the questions was, are you all doing your own custom analytics solutions, or are you working with applications that are available from partners or outside suppliers?
Yeah, we're working with applications from Apprion and other outside suppliers.
Okay, so there's So another question that's pushing on security. They're asking if you're using digital certificates, for instance. So are you using, if you're doing them, do you have one per plant site, or do you have one at the enterprise level? How does that work?
If my automation security officer for North America was online, he would tell me not to give that kind of information out to the general public. So those kind of questions that we try not to address.
Yeah, good answer. All right. So are you using any of your data or the system to, in combination with traditional approaches to deliver safety training or performance support information for field personnel?
Yeah, so that's our next phase, really, from an operations mobility standpoint, and really what we're looking at doing, and we consider this to be safety. As I stated, we have a number of our population eligible to retire, and so our plan is to use these systems for knowledge management and deliver, just like you go to a YouTube and do a search on how to change this or that in your house. We want some of the special procedures that we have to be videoed, and those will be delivered out in the field over the handheld devices. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but we're really not too far away from stepping into that realm.
Great. So there continues to be more questions about security. I would, one of the questions is where we learn about security, like against hacking, and where do you start? And I'll answer this question. There's the IEC 62443 series of cybersecurity standards, and they're organized by owner-operator practices, implementing a program, and best practices, and what functional and cybersecurity areas and features that you need to address. You need to consider people, process, technology, and so they provide pretty good guidance on that. In addition, the standards there's about 12 or 14 of them. They address the products themselves and what you would look for in terms of coverages and in terms of security features and capabilities, and so they're a good place to start to have guidance on establishing a corporate cybersecurity program that's standards-based. Okay, other questions that we might have missed? It's about 7 minutes to the top of the hour. I want to try to respect people's schedules. All right. Final thoughts from our panel.
No, this is Chris. I guess again the only thing I'd wrap up with is, for us, it's a phased approach, and for us, the real justification initially is all about safety and security. Trying to justify from an economic basis from the beginning is a difficult hurdle.
This is Sarah. I just want to say thanks to WCI for letting us co-present with you. And yes, there is a lot of research and new information about the Industrial Internet of Things out there, so I encourage everybody to continue to read and learn about it.
No, I have nothing to add. Just appreciate everybody's time listening in, and thank you for those all the good questions coming in.
Okay. I thank the audience participants and especially the presenters. If there are additional questions that individuals might want to have answered offline, they can send them directly here to ISA, WCI, and we'd be happy to answer them for you. So I'll let everybody go, and once again, thank you for participating. It's a great presentation.